Jai Hind and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Aadi. Today, I am going to discuss, although after a little long time after the incident in Nagaland, but I have someone really special with me who knows that area like the back of his hand. Lieutenant General Shokin Chauhan. He is a person who was appointed as the Director General for the Assam Rifles, looking after the northeastern region. Apart from that, he was also the chairman of the Ceasefire Monitoring Group, which is a very, very important position when you want to study what is happening in our Northeast and why is it that suddenly there are issues coming up from that region. Sir, thank you so much for joining me for this discussion.
Pleasure, Aadi.
It'll be great to hear your insights about what actually happened there. There were two incidents that actually took place. There's a lot of more focus on the recent one, but there was also a killing, which happened of an army officer along with his family within the region of the Northeast, and we've seen minor spurts of these kind of incidents taking place after a long time. So thank you once again for joining. And
pleasure.
To begin with, sir, I'd like to ask you, Nagaland per se, if you could just take us through the history of the Naga tribes. I mean, you've covered this with me before in the video that we've done on the Northeast, but just as a, for people to understand a background to this entire region, sir.
Okay. Great to be with you again on the show, Aadi. We've covered a lot of ground. We've covered Afghanistan together. We've covered the Northeast together. We've covered Nepal together.
Pakistan as well, sir.
Pakistan as well. So it's been a great journey. And as you said, I've had a ringside view of the Northeast, both as the Director General Assam Rifles and then subsequently as the chairman of the Ceasefire Monitoring Group. Wherein I got a chance to interact with the same insurgents who we were hunting for a long time, and got their perspective as well. I'd like to start with a little bit of geography, so that anyone listening could refocus himself. If you look at the map of the Northeast, it's connected to India through a narrow sliver of land called the Siliguri corridor. It's about 22 kilometers wide at its widest, at its narrowest. And from this point, you connect to the 8 states of Sikkim, and then the 7 sisters. Sikkim calls itself as a brother, and the 7 sisters that we start from Assam, if you're the palm of your hand, and then let's go northwards to Arunachal, and you come to Nagaland. Then you come to Manipur, and then you come to Mizoram. So Arunachal, Nagaland, Manipur, and Mizoram border Burma or Myanmar, right? Then you come inside towards Meghalaya. Meghalaya borders Bangladesh, along with Assam that borders Bangladesh. So you have 4 bordering Burma, 2 bordering Bangladesh, and the third one, Tripura, the 7th sister, also bordering Bangladesh. So that's how the Northeast is. We are looking now in this particular thing, in these 2 incidents, you're looking at the Indo-Myanmar border, not the Indo-Bangladesh border. And the force mandated to manage the Indo-Myanmar border is the Assam Rifles, the one that I was the Director General of. We'll start with the issue in Manipur. The insurgency in Manipur is a complicated insurgency. It is not restricted to one set of insurgents. We'll start with the valley inside. That is the Imphal Valley, where 95% of the population are the Maitis, or the Vaishnavite Hindus, who occupy the valley. They are also the most populous group in Manipur, most populous population-wise group in Manipur, and therefore the chief minister and the councillor ministers would 90% be from the Maiti community, right? And it was the Maitis who actually held control of the kingdom of Manipur till they were overrun by the Burma kingdom and subsequently by the British. And on independence, the Manipur kingdom was forced to abdicate in favor of the Republic of India. The king of Manipur, I think it was Buddhachandra Singh, who was taken to Shillong and forced to sign the accession to the Republic of India. So that's the issue about the valley. And surrounding the valley are the districts where the hill tribes live. Right? And the hill tribes, of which Churachandpur is one of the districts surrounding the valley, the first district, is populated by a Kuki group called the Zaus. Right. And Churachandpur is a border district. That means it connects Imphal to the Indo-Myanmar border.
Okay.
So there are two main roads that actually come. There are many axes that come, but the most important road that comes in from Myanmar is Moreh Imphal Road. Moreh is the border town between India and Myanmar, but basically Moreh is in Manipur. It's the border town of Manipur, and Tamu is the town across in Myanmar. So Moreh and Tamu are the two border towns of the Indo-Myanmar border. And the main highway between the two countries starts from Tamu, or rather from Mandalay, comes towards Tamu, and from Tamu comes into Imphal. That's the highway. Now, about 10 odd years ago, much of the illegal illicit trade used to come through this axis. Right? The Mandalay, Tamu, Moreh, Imphal Road. A lot of smuggling used to take place. A lot of narcotics used to go through this. And knowing that, what we did when I was the Director General is that we were able to procure some very good equipment, under vehicle baggage scanners, very good equipment, which were very sensitive and was able to catch a lot of drugs which were passing through this. Otherwise, the drugs were so well hidden that you simply could not catch them. And because of this, we had a checkpost at Khudganthavi, which is about 20 kilometers from the road. This road became uneconomical for these smugglers. So they started using the other axis. That is the Churachandpur Imphal axis. That's where the story of young Viplav Tripathi comes in. Churachandpur is a large district, and earlier we had almost 4 units guarding Churachandpur. But because of this recent problem with China, 2 of the army units were removed from there and taken to the border. So Churachandpur was left with just 2 Assam Rifle units, and it's well nigh impossible to look after that entire area with 2 units. So 43 Assam Rifles was overstretched. There's no doubt about that. They were looking at the Imphal, they were looking at the Indo-Bangladesh border, they were also looking in the hinterland. So he had 5 companies out, and Viplav Tripathi was frequently moving from one company to the other.
Sure.
And also establishing these checkpoints to check narcotics smuggling. He had been largely successful in preventing narcotics smuggling there. Keeping this in mind, the PLA decided that they would, and seeing his habits of Viplav actually moving around so often to one company and the other and supervising a lot of operations, they decided that they would, teach Viplav a lesson. Unfortunately, they caught us at a time when, we couldn't retaliate. And Viplav, his wife, and his son were also traveling in the same vehicle, who were innocent victims to this ambush by the PLA. The PLA subsequently owned up to the ambush, and they expressed regret as far as Mrs. Tripathi and the son was concerned, because they said that we didn't know that they were there. But they should not have been there, was their statement. Why they did it is because they wanted to teach Viplav a lesson, impose caution, and also prevent us from putting checkpoints on that road.
Hmm.
They also wanted to show their relevance to the other people or the other groups in the Imphal Valley. So, and they got lucky. That's the main issue. So this is the first issue as far as the ambush of Viplav is concerned. That they got lucky. They hit Viplav, and unfortunately he died, and he was killed along with his wife and son. And I'm certain that we will and we have been already able to get the perpetrators of the crime. The Myanmar government have given us 5 of them who were the planners. And we will subsequently get the people who did. It just takes patience. It takes an ability to continuously and relentlessly hunt these fellows, and we will get them. They can't go anywhere. We know who they are. Right. Now let's go a little more north from Manipur. When you go north from Manipur, you go towards the state of Nagaland. So we go to the Nagaland districts of Tuensang and Mon.
Mhm.
Both these districts are to the north, they border Arunachal, and to the east is Myanmar. They have no connect with the situation in Manipur. Absolutely no connect. The people who populate both Mon and Tuensang districts are the Konyaks.
Okay.
Konyak tribe, and Konyaks are about 35% of Nagaland's population. So they are the largest single group after the Angamis are the Konyaks. And the Konyaks populate this part of the border. And the insurgent group that is made up of Konyaks is the NSCN Kaplan group, who used to belong to, or the NSCN K, which has now metamorphed into 2 groups. One is the NSCN Yung Ong. Yung Ong is Kaplan's nephew. And the one that we were able to break was Kaplan's main leader, a person called Kango. So Kango, along with 200, 150 cadre, were brought in by me. I was able to get them to sign a ceasefire agreement with me, and we've more or less broken up the NSCNK, and it is now largely irrelevant with not much force, other than operating in the jungles of border between Nagaland and Burma, but largely irrelevant. Now, into this cauldron comes a situation where the Special Force unit was given some information about the movement of Yongong cadres in the border town of Oting. It's a border village, Oting. And they launched this operation. And unfortunately,
6:33 p.m.
the tragedy of what happened, you're aware. They, as per the Home Minister, they tried to stop the vehicles that was traveling in the evening. The vehicle didn't stop. The Army Special Force unit fired, and unfortunately, whom they killed were civilians and not insurgents. In the subsequent issue of the people of Oting village, they were very emotional, and there was a rampage. In fact, in which they again attacked both the Assam Rifle camp and the Special Force unit. And that's where the Special Force unit had one boy who was killed.
Yes.
But when they fired in self-defense, they killed 7 more. So it's unfortunate, Adi. I feel very, very sorry that something like this has happened. It should never have happened. This should never have really happened, and it has created a situation which, to my mind, would take a long time getting back to normal.
Absolutely. Yes.
It's unfortunate, and the Home Minister has expressed regret. So has the Army unit expressed regret. 3 Corps has expressed regret. And I hope we will find a place from where we can, make amends to the Konyak community and move on from there.
It's a sensitive issue, I guess, and because
Yes.
how it.
Very, very sad. Very sad because things just went wrong.
Yeah, absolutely. These kind of issues is basically comes out of, if I may understand from what you're trying to say, tribals of any kind from anywhere have this certain thing of retribution. I think that went a little too far with regards to, the counter attack from them, burning down the Assam.
I won't say counter attack as much the fact that they got
Emotional, yes, absolutely.
People killed, and they decided, and any village would do the same to kill.
Absolutely, and that's a very tribal thought process. Nothing right or wrong about it, but
So this is what happened, Aadi, exactly. That they got a little emotional, attacked them, and that melee they fired again. So more people got killed.
One of the things that you mentioned, that you were able to actually break the NSCN-K, the biggest fraction of them down, and get them to an agreement towards the ceasefire. What about the other fractions? Do you think do you spot any sort of signs of any of these groups being involved in the attack, or the reasoning why those guys did not stop at the checkpost?
See, Adi, firstly, Nagaland, there are 3 groups, main insurgent groups. That are basically 3. Plus the NSCN IM, that the Isaac Muiwa group, which is the largest group.
Yes.
Which operates in Manipur, in Arunachal, in South Assam, and Nagaland, with their headquarters in a place called Hebron near Dimapur. Right? So the NSCN IM is in ceasefire with us from 1997. Within the state of Nagaland is an absolute ceasefire. Okay, and the cadres are mainly in designated camps. They hold their weapons, but they are in designated camps. So the IM is, like I said, though operating in these areas, is not involved. The next one is the Congo group, NSCN-K, Congo, whom we broke from Kaplang, and that group also is in ceasefire with us. Then 2 more groups broke from the IM as well as K and became the NSCN Reformation and the NSCN KN, Kitovi Nikpao. All 4 of these groups are in ceasefire with us. All these groups have designated camps where their cadres are supposed to stay. The people that the Special Force unit were hunting were not people from these groups. They were from the Yungong faction, which is not in ceasefire with us and which is based in Myanmar. But was the Yungong faction involved in the ambush of Colonel Viplav Tripathi? No. The people involved, as the group has already owned up, it is the PLA and the Manipur Naga People's Liberation Army, MNPLA. So these are which really doesn't exist. Just to give it a fig leaf of the fact that a couple of Nagas involved. But none of these 4 mainstream Naga insurgent groups are involved in Viplav Tripathi's killing and ambush. The group that was involved is the PLA, which is a mighty-based group.
And one could see that, sir, because the kind of online responses that came out, and there's as a matter of fact, on Twitter, some people came out and said that none of the groups are responsible for this. We've not done it and stuff like that. I started following some of those guys, and one could realize they were pretty scared about the fact that हमारा नाम नहीं आना चाहिए इसके अंदर. We won't do something like this. We have.
In fact, on Facebook, Congo took out a statement saying, "What do I do? Should I break the ceasefire? What do my Konyak brothers say? Because I'm a servant of the Konyaks." But he has decided to stay on, thank God, within the ceasefire. So as of now, ceasefire is safe. So we hope there will be a resolution soon. But this is exactly what happened.
So we also, I mean, Myanmar has been on the fritz since February. Its instability,
20.
Compiled with a whole lot of other economical issues, and it being part of a drug circle from this entire region. Actually, India is smack dab right in the middle of this entire thing. We also saw a report of a huge cache of drugs that was found. And is this something like a build up to a narco, sort of a setup which is coming up again? Because
Aadi, you have what is known as the Golden Triangle of narcotics. Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar. They all border Myanmar. And Myanmar itself faces about 16 insurgencies. So they have their hands full.
Yeah.
So narcotic smuggling is done for money. It's done by some of these insurgent groups. The NSCN IM does not get into it at all.
Oh.
Yeah, they're very clear. NSCN IM says no drugs, no trafficking of women at all. So they don't do that, and it's a mandatory death sentence to any cadre of the NSCN IM who might get into it.
That's interesting to know.
So a lot of the people who do it are pseudo insurgents. They're doing it for money. They've been able to get a weapon, and they try and dominate that place using that weapon, or maybe 10, 15 people of a pseudo group, but not the mainstream narcotics.
Fair enough, sir.
A lot of narcotic smuggling is done. It is done for money, and it is done to traffic weapons. So that part is there, but because it borders the Golden Triangle, and that has been going on for a long, long time. The Northeastern Drug Triangle has been going on for a very long
time. Yes. One of the reasons for the issues in that area is drugs.
Yeah.
How do you see the Chinese fingerprint in this entire incident, sir? First of all, do you see any? And because the Chinese are known for creating some sort of issues within the fault lines of a certain region, and the East is something that
exactly. So that's well said. They operate within these fault lines.
Yeah.
There is a grey market in a place called Ruli, in the Yunnan province. Correct. A lot of the insurgent groups get weapons from there. There is a great deal of deniability by the Chinese. They could be giving it, they may not be giving it, people may be buying it, it may be coming, may not be coming. So that deniability of China remains. But to exploit a weakness is something that China is known to do. And the PLA as a group has taken advantage of China. Because basically the PLA is a communist group. So ideologically, they're definitely closer to China. So if China has passed on a discrete message to create mayhem or to create disturbance within India, they could well have done it. But there is no hand that has come up till now to show any involvement of China, or none that has come in the media.
It's not far from speculation, but
it's not far from speculation. It could well be done because China does operate in this manner. So using the fault lines of the society.
True, sir. So for me, the biggest issue is that, since the military has taken over in Myanmar, India has kind of taken a very backseat with regard to the entire situation. We've not seen, much of either condemnation, support, or whatever it is with regards to that entire country. I say this with the very clear knowledge that we had very good relations with the junta as well. We had good relations with the democratic parties as well, the government as well. So, what do you see this? And today we get a news that the foreign secretary is suddenly visiting.
He's there in Myanmar. He's there in Myanmar.
A million.
He's there in Naypyidaw.
Yeah, 1 million doses of COVID has been given there and stuff like that. So, what do you analyze about this? Are we getting into a place where we are trying to hit the root cause, or getting some cooperation from those guys to get rid of this issue?
Aadi, Myanmar is an important neighbor. Very, very important to India.
True.
Do we need to tell them what government needs to govern them? To my personal opinion, it's not our job.
Hmm.
It's for the Myanmaris to decide what governance is there.
That's a whole different discussion altogether. Yes, sir.
As far as we are concerned, it's an important neighbor. We acknowledge the fact that it's an important neighbor. The Myanmar army has been a friend of the Indian army and has never operated against against India.
Hmm.
I personally have been to Naypyidaw, I've spoken to the leadership, and the opinion that I got was that they are pro-India in a very big way. So, do we need to tell them how to govern their country? I don't think we should. I'm very glad that Harsh Shingla, Foreign Secretary, is there today. It shows pragmatism, it shows clarity of thought, and it shows that regardless of whatever, we're going to engage with you.
True.
It's important because our northeast is troubled. It is important because we need the Myanmar army with us. It's important because we both can and must operate together along the Indo-Myanmar border to do away with these criminal gangs. So, in all, it shows a great deal of pragmatism. And if we can help Myanmar's people using the COVID medicine, nothing like it.
Yeah, people.
We should.
Fair enough. Yeah.
People. Because COVID is not going to go away just by keeping your country safe. You have to, it's a humanity issue. Everybody around you also has to be inoculated.
True, sir. I wish the world thinks that way, sir. But
yeah, so this is the only way that we can get around. But we should never disengage with Myanmar. It is far too important a country for us to start preaching to them what form of governance they need to be governed by.
Important. So a soft hand, obviously a little bit of a force.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Last question, sir. You mentioned that disenchantment would come into these regions. Of course, if they see those maroon berets again, they're going to find issues. There will be some sort of a blowback from their side and stuff like that. How does the government today put an ointment on the wounds, calm the situation down? What is it that you think, with your expertise in that area, would create a situation where somewhere down the line, at least instead of the trust falling down, it remains at a constant and slowly starts building up again?
See, Aadi, this is a setback, no doubt.
Yeah.
The first thing is, if I was the person there, the Home Minister has already expressed regret over it. That expression of regret should go down to the ground level. Engage with the village, express regret. In tribal societies, if you own up to a mistake honestly, there is a system of forgiveness. And the Nagas have and are very forgiving. In that system of forgiveness, the compensation that we must pay to the families is a part of that system of forgiveness. There's a well laid out process of forgiveness and of going ahead with life. So express regret, take that regret down, talk to them, re-engage with the Koniak people, and try and get them back to us. The main story is that, and it'll take time. But if your regret is honest and true, you should be okay. We have to just explain to them that we're very sorry that this has happened, and that we will, alter our rules of engagement. We will alter our system by which we engage, and we initiate force in these areas, and try and get them to be with us, because they're a part of our country. They don't have a place to go.
As much as anybody else.
Absolutely. So this is what I would suggest if it was left to me.
Interesting. So I think
it's well within our ability to do it. So it's well within our ability to do it.
This is regretful at a time when actually development is starting to happen in that area. Tourism is being promoted,
and there was
railway lines are going in.
There was a lot of happiness. The people of Nagaland, participated in the last election with great gusto.
Oh, yes.
They had an opinion on our political process. The youth of Nagaland identifies with India. There is no secessionist movement. And the insurgent groups are looking forward to having a final agreement and going ahead with life. Why should they be kept hostage to issues of the past? So my personal advice would be like this.
I think so. If anybody from that area is watching this, I think they should find some solace from someone who's been there, who knows that area, and the expression that you've put out, I think should also tell them that it's not just the government, it's also the people of the country, the rest of the country, except that one state, feel that whatever has happened is happened. Fair enough. It's a mistake which needs to be corrected. It needs to be looked at. It needs to be investigated. And probably, a new process, as you said, with regards to use of force needs to come up, because the Indian Army is not known for something like this, and
we don't do that. We don't do that.
It's something which all of us felt a little bit, weird about, because it's not something which is done. The culture is not this. It's not something that the army trains for. The army fights combatants and not unarmed civilians at any point.
Absolutely.
That's I think a message I take from what you've explained to me, and very beautifully.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
History, sir. Sir, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure talking to you. With a ton of knowledge that you carry with yourself.
Thank you.
The tribes' names and so on and so forth. It's amazing. And I wish I am able to actually put across this video in one of those Facebook pages from the Northeast, so that they listen to it and understand that, we are not trying to say it was this, it was that. We feel so. We feel sorry. That's just about it.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir, for joining me. And till next time, another topic. Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.